I think it's interesting that although we didn't know each other before, we found such kind of similarities in the kind of work that we're doing. I think we all have kind of similar contacts in the Manchester kind of cultural field. And the fact that although our organisations kind of different sizes, doing different things, the fact that we've kind of found a connection, been able to support each other through the changes that those organisations are making. All of those organisations are undergoing big changes, aren't they? In different ways, like completely different types of changes. In terms of, you've got a new director, you've got the opening of the factory. We've got the HLF project going on, building a new museum. So all organisations of different sizes going through different things, but change being kind of the thing that is happening, different ways of working. And the fact that we've been able to support each other through that, through this process, I think has been really valuable for me.
And I think as well, because we all knew of each other's organisations, and as we'd said, we very briefly maybe met each other, but not in a way where we had kind of in-depth conversations. I think being able to go through that period of change that we're all going through now, but also be aware of each other's cultural organisations, and then feed in all of the case information, is really helping us all to broaden that educational kind of focus for our organisations. At the same time, kind of getting that support from you guys. I can come to you and talk about experiences, kind of bash around ideas. So I think it has been really, really useful. And being able to, like you say, step away from our organisations and be in a space like this where we actually have time to breathe and talk and share is really useful. As a learning experience, but also as that, going back to our organisations and being able to kind of feed in fresh approaches, talk about experiences that you guys have all had, and kind of feed into how that might work within our my setting, certainly, has been really interesting. So
I think the biggest compliment I can give this fellowship is that there are at times when I genuinely forget where I am coming from because of the work that we're doing together as a team. And I know we're halfway through this process, and our placements at the schools haven't taken place or kicked in just yet. But like I said before, for me, this group that has formed, being able to offload things that are going on in the workplace and on a personal level, is something that I hope to take forward for many years.
I guess that's what makes it different, isn't it, from other things that we might have taken part in before, is the fact that the onus is on the individual as much as anything else. It's about individual development. And although I think the legacy will be that our organisations will work much more closely together, usually if we met, it would be very much on behalf of the organisation for a specific goal. And the fact that we've been through this quite intense process, but that it is about actually making relationships with individuals across a broad range of cultural organisations, I think in terms of the legacy that it will leave, that's really amazing, really. When you think of the number of hours that we've actually spent together, it's not actually huge amounts, but the intensity of the process and the focus of the work that we're doing means that actually the relationships form much more quickly, that level of support is there much more quickly. And I think that's a great compliment to the process, really. The fact that they've been able to form us into such a tight group that will have a legacy way beyond this process is an incredible achievement, really. Because we could have just come and done the school placement and then gone back to work. But the actual change that it's clearly having amongst the whole team is remarkable, really.
And being able to now, I've noticed I tune in much more to conversations and things that are going on across the city that maybe before I wouldn't have necessarily thought to. And I think that Manchester in itself is going to be quite interesting over the next couple of years, because I think there's loads of change going on in different organisations, but there's loads of change and firming up of kind of cultural education across the city as well. So for us to be able to feed into that, or at least feed into, maybe not as directly, but our kind of organisations to then feed into that, I think is really interesting. And I think for us to be part of CASE at the moment, it's an exciting time. One that I think, will feed into that much broader northwest focus rather than just our cultural organisations.
Because you can see the growth in confidence in people as we've gone through the process, can't you? You can see people much more confident about talking about kind of cultural education than they were at the beginning, which I think shows that it's working.
Yeah. And there's certain platforms that have been presented, and we can go forth with confidence and speak to directors and senior management, and going into the school as well, which could have been previously seen as quite fish out of water setting. And now you can tell, looking around the group, that there's a level of excitement going into this, and open-minded with regards to the challenges that are ahead.
I think it's also that confidence to be able to, or not be allowed, but to feel it's okay to go in and just ask questions and just find out much more, and not. I think when I first took part in the process, I was a bit like, I need to go in really knowledgeable with these schools and find out, but actually to be able to just go in and, like you've said before, be a sponge and just find out as much as we can, and then with no expectations, so whatever comes organically is really interesting, and that actually that's a really genuine outcome, rather than kind of going in and being like, this is the stuff that I want to get out of it. Obviously that is always really helpful, but sometimes it's really nice to go in and just ask questions.